Good Saturday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo and Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally, and I mean literally, does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up those football gods. Wake up here, guys. Wake up. It's Saturday morning. I hope you guys are doing great. I am happy because I've been blessed with another day. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here on this Saturday. Looks like the sun is out. It's a little cooler out today. But, I'm happy because I got lots of work to do. We are still working on the new set outside. Shout out especially to Howard Floyd last night. Howard Floyd, I'm going to have to dedicate a wing to you, to Joe Boo Sports Fan, and a couple of you other really great. You guys go all in. We're going to be doing some more work on the outside. We're under construction. Pardon our dust. Well, I'm always dusty. I'm always dusty, as you guys know. But thank you for everybody doing the super chats and also on the GoFundMe page. We are going to be working on now phase 2 of the new studio as we get ready for the draft. And as we get ready for the draft, hopefully the Dallas Cowboys are getting ready for the draft, as well as free agency. On the 15th, only a couple days from now, teams can start talking to players. That's Monday. Basically, you can have them all but signed until, of course, Wednesday, which they become official, beginning of the league year. All these new deals and things that have been made and so on have not become final until Wednesday, when the beginning of the new league year starts. And teams have to be below the salary cap of $182 million. So there's some teams that got a lot of work to do that are still cutting a lot of players. And with a lot of these players, you're seeing a lot of big name players that are on the streets, a lot of big name players. Now, I caution you because a lot of times we get used to a name and we don't know what the circumstances may have been for last year or the last couple of years. We get used to that name and think, oh my God, if we got that guy. But you're not looking at that player as they stand today. You're thinking about the highlight films that you've seen. And herein lies one of the problems for, say, a Dak Prescott. Because you're a Dallas Cowboy player, you get micro-analyzed every single play. We go through and we trash, oh my God, D-Law, he's taking money, man. Look at that. He messed up on that play. Fire him, trade him, and all that. But you don't remember a guy like Robert Quinn, who had an incredible season with us, 11 sacks, ended up getting a 75 5-year deal with the Bears and proceeds to have 1 sack the next year. And herein lies the problem. We had Randall Cobb, who had some down years in Green Bay where it looked like his career was over with. He comes here with Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, rejuvenates his career. Everybody thinks he's back, baby. He goes to the Texans with Deshaun Watson, and it kind of looks like he's falling off the cliff again. So free agency is a crapshoot. You just don't know what you may get. But here's the thing. As we've gone through the 2 years of getting Dak Prescott's contract done and everything else, Stephen Jones kept talking about, Dak needs to take a team-friendly deal so he leaves some money on the table for others. That's what we've been told. Dak needs to take a team-friendly deal so we have money to pay others. Well, they found a way to pay Dak as well as save some money on the cap. Before we signed Dak, we had about $20 million. A little maneuvering with Dak Prescott's contract, as well as a little restructuring. We get him signed for the next 4 years. We still have $20 million. We could easily get more money. So now it's time for Stephen Jones and the Cowboys to put their money where their mouth is. When they had the press conference, it wasn't a minute in and they said, we recognize we got to fix the defense. We spend $133 million on offense and $66 million on defense. But throwing money at the situation isn't just the solution. You have to spend it wisely, and you have to make good choices. For me, I would love to see the Cowboys invest in one or two spots on the defense before the draft. A one technique guy, which I have been screaming for forever, a guy who can clog up the middle, or a safety, a real safety. Now, because again, this year is kind of one of those crazy years. Sorry about that. The cell phone is now Wi-Fi'd into the mixer, so I keep forgetting that all those notifications and stuff come through on the system. So I need to be better with that. I got to remember, turn that shit off. But anyway, see, it's everybody's sending me messages. Hopefully it's not breaking news or something. Safety is one of those spots that the Cowboys have recognized we need to do better. They tried to get Earl Thomas, but Seattle wanted too much for him. Then, of course, we were trying to get Jamal Adams, another great safety. But again, the Jets wanted 2 number ones. That was way too much. But we have free agency. So if you were willing to give up a number 2 for Earl Thomas, if you were willing to give up a number 1, possibly in a second pick for Jamal Adams, then you should be able to say, all I got to do is write a check. Now, we're going to take a quick look at some of the safeties that are out there. Of course, we just mentioned Earl Thomas, who doesn't have any battle scars for this year because, well, he got cut by the Baltimore Ravens. Earl Thomas, 31 years old, Dallas native, would love to play for Dallas, and Cowboys wanted him a couple of years ago. But I say stay away. Stay far, far away on Earl Thomas. Unfortunately, there's so many off-the-field issues that just seem like, what the hell is going on? And, and he's 31 years old. So is he an upgrade over what we have? Of course. But 31, I need somebody, if we're going to invest a lot of money and time into, I want somebody who's going to be here a while. You look at his numbers. He's been a great player. I'm not going to deny that. I wanted to get him back when he was at Seattle, before everything that happened transpired with Baltimore and the high price tag and everything else, and all the off-field issues between his wife, I guess now soon to be ex-wife, and so on, that make you just say, I don't want that. But you look at the body of work, it's been great. But again, this is one of those ones where you look at it and say where he is now versus where he was 3 or 4 years ago. So let's move on from that one. Then we have, there's Kenny Vaccaro. Kenny Vaccaro, who the Titans just decided that they're not going to franchise tag him. They're releasing him. Kenny Vaccaro, 30 years old, 6 foot, 214 pounds, made $4.2 million last year, which is manageable. In 2013, he played in 13 games. I believe even 5 tackles in the playoffs. Playoffs? You're talking about playoffs? Yeah, I'm talking about playoffs. This year, 83 tackles during the regular season. Look, 83 tackles, 1 sack, 6 tackles for a loss, 1 quarterback hit, no interceptions, I think, this. Yeah, pass defense, no interceptions this year. But, hey, it happens. Kenny Vaccaro would be definitely an upgrade, but again, he's 30 years old, and I'm kind of done with the older guys. I'm trying to get young. I'm trying to look at this as this is an investment where I want to see the guy on the team still 2 or 3 years from now. And when I think about a 30-year-old or a 31 Earl Thomas, this is only a one-hit wonder type of a situation. And ideally, if you can find a guy that's really good today, right now, because it's a depressed market, to sign them to a deal now with the market being low, you can look at it and say, okay, next year it'll be a lot better because the money will start to come back and increase. So this is a year to look for guys, not for one-hit wonders, but for guys for a longer term, at least in my mind. Maybe I'm wrong. Now, players will probably want to do like 1-year deals because they say it's a depressed market and I want to get back in when there's a lot of money. I did a video before about Trey Boston, who was released by Carolina a few weeks ago. And again, this is another guy who, Trey Boston, I think is 28 years old, a little younger definitely a little younger. He's not Justin Simmons. I wish Justin Simmons was a free agent because I would say buy the farm for Justin Simmons. He'll probably get about $14 or $15 million a year, but he is definitely worth it. Trey Boston this past year, 95 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, 2 quarterback hits, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. Definitely a guy who wasn't bad. He was not bad at all. And I would say I wouldn't mind Trey Boston coming to the Cowboys. I wouldn't. I would say that's a guy that we can look at and say, yeah, okay. That's an improvement over Xavier Woods. But the guy who I'm actually really impressed with, and look at him from the standpoint of a guy who definitely would fit the criteria of what I'm looking for right now, is John Johnson, who played with the Rams, who is kind of underrated and kind of under the radar. See, here's the thing about John Johnson, who grew up in Maryland, actually not far from where actually I live. He's 25. He's got 4 years experience. And in 2 of those years, let's take a look at these numbers. I want you to take a look at this. 2 of those years, 119 tackles his second season. He hurt his shoulder in 2019 and only played in 6 games, and had 51 tackles in those 6 games, which is still really good. But 105 tackles this past year for the Rams. He's played free safety and strong safety, so he's a little bit versatile. He had 2 tackles for a loss last year. He's had already in his career 8 interceptions, so he's averaging 2 a year. 2018, of course, he had 4. So when you start thinking about him, and I have some highlights here. Let me turn off the volume. Hopefully the NFL police, I'm always scared about putting out highlights because you can get hurt, and that's what kind of happened with my man Law Nation. But he's 6 foot, 212 pounds, or 209 pounds. He's a hitter. He's a tackler. He is a beast. And coming off of his rookie contract where he's only making $2.5 million, he was the 91st pick by the Rams. He's going to get a raise, definitely going to get a raise. But see, spending money and spending money that's worthwhile are 2 different things. We spent money last year on Clinton Ha-Ha-Dix, who, interestingly enough, the Raiders are looking at right now. You need a guy who can play. If you're going to spend money, like Jerry Jones says, every time I've gone out and spent money and looking for a bargain, yeah, that bargain isn't that cheap. Look at that. Look at that. Do you see what I'm talking about here? Look at that versus Xavier Woods. And I don't want to trash a player and all that, but and I know the trolls will say, you can always trash. Yeah, I'm sorry. You can't look at some of the things that happen on the field where the play on the field, you looked like fundamentals were never taught to Xavier Woods. And see, I need a guy who is a player. I mean, look, boom, step in there. Look, there you go. Boom. Head's always looking, always working to the ball, never giving up on plays. And that's what I'm talking about. So from the standpoint of free agency, John Johnson is a guy I hope that the Cowboys will take a look at, possibly bringing in, at least considering. We have got to do something. Look at that. Dude's a beast. John Johnson. All right, so you can see that would definitely be an upgrade. And if the Cowboys can do something like this, Cowboys can make a move like this in free agency as we go into the draft, then that kind of negates some of the urgency of finding top-light players, because truly he would be a plug-in day one starter that makes your defense better day one. And that goes to when you get to the draft, it leaves you more options of saying, you know what, if Kyle Pitts is there, I don't mind, because you got Kyle Pitts to help out in the red zone, and we've got John Johnson who helps out on the back end of the defense. And so now you're at a win-win situation. Or with the quarterback situation. There's so many teams that are quarterback desperate, and they're looking and saying, basically, if you're not in the top 10, you don't really have a chance for one of those 5. And it may be one of those guys slides. Somebody says, I'd rather have an offensive tackle. I'm not sure about this quarterback. I'd like to get that edge rusher. So all of a sudden, one of those quarterbacks are sitting there at 10, and somebody says, I want that guy. And now here's the Cowboys having your quarterback locked up. You can go ahead and trade back and maybe turn that into more picks. So free agency will help determine what you're going to do in the draft. And we do need to find some really good players this year in free agency. So with that being said, we are done this morning with this thing, and I'm going to go up here, get some work done in the shop, and then I'm going to get some work done out here outside. But as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. One other thing, too. The cutting boards, all right? Adrian Dyson, you need to email me because this is actually yours. This is actually the small cutting boards that I'm actually making. I've got big butcher blocks, and the big butcher blocks, they're not listed on my website yet. Don't have them on the website yet, but they are 24 by 15. They're big, and they're about 20, 22, 24 pounds. The only problem with this is the shipping costs are about $40 to ship them. If you're really, and there's no way around it. I've checked around in different ways and so forth on it, but the thickness, they're 2 inches thick. They're huge. And, if you're really a guy that does a lot of hunting, a lot of carving and all that, they're really, really good. Unfortunately, I have no control over that, but we're still working up numbers on it. If you are interested in them, I can give you more details. It's going to take a few days for Megabytes to get that stuff put in so we can on my site and get it figured out so I can work out something. I have 4 of the really big ones, but I do have smaller ones as well. If you're looking for something that's a little bit smaller, it won't cost as much to ship. So with that being said, I've got some of those blanks out there that got to be sanded down and prepared. I will see you later.